Studies have shown that women release a chemical hormone or pheromone when they are fertile, making them more desirable and attractive to men. Pheromones are odorless and colorless and can only be detected on a subconscious, instinctive level, and are proven to affect the behavior of both animals and humans. When a woman is taking a contraceptive, her body responds as if she is pregnant and infertile, and therefore no longer releases the pheromone of fertility, making them less desirable to men. Studies have shown that men are far more attracted to average fertile women than they are even to supermodels. In 2008, National Survey of Family Growth reported that 99% of sexually active women in the United States had or were contracepting. What is a man to do when the majority of women are contracepting and he no longer finds them desirable? While contracepting women degrade themselves through immodest dress and action in an attempt to attract men who are confused from the lack of fertile women. In the 1970s, a study was conducted on a tribe of monkeys. Austin, the alpha male, chose 3 females to be his exclusive sexual partners. Researchers then injected his mates with the contraceptive Depo-Provera. Austin, not surprisingly, chose 3 other mates. Then the researchers injected all the females in the tribe. Austin became confused, and his actions bizarre. He no longer paid any attention to the females of the tribe, and instead had sexual interactions with the other males. The World Health Organization classifies hormonal contraceptives as Class 1 carcinogens. It is impossible to calculate the number of deaths due to contraception because mortality is often attributed to another cause. Nowhere on the U.S. certificate of death does it even mention the use of contraceptives. At present, there are tens of thousands of lawsuits in the courts against pharmaceutical companies for death and/or serious side effects. It is also impossible to calculate how many millions of babies have died. Many chemical contraceptives try to prevent ovulation. However, research has shown that breakthrough ovulation can occur, and the egg can become fertilized. In that case, the chemicals prevent the implantation of the developing baby to the lining of the womb, and as a result, the mother's body rejects and aborts her baby without ever knowing she was with child. This is the cause of death for 7 to 12 million babies in America each year. Recent geological surveys of water supplies have found that levels of estrogen, which are released into sewers through the urine of women on birth control, have slipped through treatment systems and are now in our tap water. Estrogen has a major impact on our reproduction. Its effects can be seen in the discovery of fish currently living in estrogen-polluted water. These fish are neither male nor female. In fact, they have a mixture of sex characteristics, rendering them infertile. With the prevalence of contraception, it's no wonder that adultery is on the rise, as is promiscuity. Homosexual behavior. And even abortion due to failed contraception. the entire world's population could fit quite comfortably in the state of Texas. If you divide the landmass of Texas with the current population, each person would have over 1,000 square feet. That's almost a quarter of an acre per person. Texas would be a functional megacity, much like New York City. And no one would live anywhere else on the planet. The co-inventor of the birth control pill now condemns it, saying it's led to a demographic catastrophe. In order for a culture to maintain itself, its replacement rate must be 2.1, meaning one child to replace each parent. When a civilization is below the replacement rate, its population size will decrease and runs the risk of extinction. Demographers have shown that a replacement rate below 1.3 will cut a country's population in half in 45 years, resulting in an overabundance of elderly and an inadequate number of working force to economically sustain the nation. Mainstream media has recently reported that the low birth rate of Japan is leading to eventual extinction. The governments of Russia and Singapore are offering cash incentives of up to $18,000 per child to induce larger families. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned the parliament that the lack of babies is a serious crisis threatening Russia's survival. According to the statistics of the CIA, there are over 100 countries with birth rates below what is necessary. Since 1979, worldwide birth rates have declined by more than 50%. Chemical contraceptives are not the only problem. It's the whole birth control mentality. This idea that we have the right to decide when and how life comes about. With contraception, we see the prevention and termination of life, but there are many on the opposite side of the spectrum, creating life by artificial means. In vitro fertilization is the cause of birth for over 5 million babies, but this creation of life comes with a price. For every single child born, 30 are created. The other 29 are either killed or frozen. Experimenters in the United Kingdom have reported over 150 human-animal hybrid embryos since 2008, but they're not the only ones. Cloning is happening all over the world. The great harm in this birth control mentality is the consequent pollution of the heart that rejects the will of God and seeks selfish pleasure instead. We allow our passions to take over our reason, and our actions become more like animals than humans. There are people who take this literally, like Brian, on trial for bestiality, who says his relationship with his dogs are equivalent to a marriage-type relationship and should be legal. Or the North American Man-Boy Love Association, working to abolish age of consent laws and legalize sexual interactions with minors. When we act contrary to God's will, putting pleasure above authentic love, we sink below our dignity as persons, made in the image and likeness of God, who has given us this marriage act as a sign of himself. Both unitive and procreative. Sterilization is the most frequent form of contraception used worldwide, resulting in over 223 million couples permanently unable to reproduce. If you had a valuable racehorse, because of its worth, you would want it to have as many offspring as possible. But the value of a horse is nothing compared to the infinite value of each and every person made in God's image. We're not stray cats that need to be neutered. We should want to procreate, knowing that every new person has a unique and immortal soul, destined to live for all eternity. Pregnancy is not a risk, it's a privilege. Up until 1930, all Christian denominations condemned contraception as sinful. Augustine wrote about it in the 4th century, saying, "Marital relations, even with a lawful wife, are unlawful and degrading when the conception of a child is deliberately frustrated. This was the sin of Onan, and God struck him dead because of it." Martin Luther said the sin of contraception is far more atrocious than incest and adultery, while John Calvin condemned contraception, saying it was doubly monstrous. In 1930, swayed by growing social pressure, the Anglican Church announced that contraception would be allowed, but only for married couples and only for grave reason. Soon after, they completely caved in, allowing it across the board. Since then, all Protestant denominations have followed suit, putting the pleasure of man above the law of God. When, therefore, through contraception, married couples remove from the exercise of their conjugal sexuality its potential procreative capacity, they claim a power which belongs solely to God, the power to decide, in the final analysis, the coming into existence of a human person. They assume the qualification not of being cooperators in God's creative power, but the ultimate depositories of the source of human life. In this perspective, contraception is to be judged so profoundly unlawful as never to be for any reason justified. To say or think the contrary is equal to maintaining that in human life, situations may arise in which it is lawful not to recognize God as God. Contraception is the path that has led us to the culture of death prevalent in the world today, but it doesn't have to be the path of our future. The time has come when each of us must make a choice. Will we continue on the path of self-seeking, empty pleasure, and false joy, at the cost of contravening the will of God, or will we follow the path of virtue, which entails sacrifice and a total gift of self, deep peace and authentic joy, which only comes when living in the will of God? Don't be fooled by the promises of the world. If someone you know is contracepting, tell them to stop. It will destroy them.